Brandon from ClashingSabers.net joins us today to nerd out about Star Wars. We talk about Celebration, The Last Jedi, can Kylo Ren be redeemed, and when do we next see the search for Ezra on today's episode of Certain Point of View. Welcome to Certain Point of View. I'm Addy Thomas.
And I'm Ben Milton.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of our Sometimes Star Wars podcast. Today is definitely a full-on Star Wars podcast.
Woo!
We got another guest this week.
Look at us go.
Look at you. Thank you, Ben, for making that happen.
You know, I feel like we're a real podcast now because we've had
right?
a couple guests in a row.
Right? It's like we're growing up, man.
I know. I'm excited. And this is a great one, too. Like, we get into some heavy stuff.
Yeah, some
like,
really interesting stuff.
This is right up our alley. So.
Yeah, we had Brandon from ClashingSabers.net to join us. He talked a little bit about how he started ClashingSabers.net. It was really cool. They get into some really cool in-depth analysis with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I've seen some of their articles before shared in some of my Star Wars groups. And like it's some really fascinating stuff if you really want to like sort of deep dive into the meaning and mythology, the kind of stuff that, you know, we like to talk about, but we like to throw fart jokes in with it too, you know. But they take it a little bit more seriously than we do, so you can like get past some of the juvenile humor.
I feel like I take our fart jokes pretty seriously.
No, you do too. You do too. I mean, we have to because sometimes it could be more than a fart.
You never know.
We've learned on this show.
You never know.
Before we get to that interview, though, I do want to remind you, you can go to our website, certainpov.com, and check out all of the other podcasts that are part of our podcasting family. We're having we have a bunch of shows that you can check out. And most recently, we actually had an episode from our buddies Matt and Jeff from Fun and Games with Matt and Jeff, where they talked about video game music. And it's a really interesting dive into it. And they, like, enough for them to decide, you know what, we're going to do a double-sized episode.
Oh, right? Supersize it.
And in fact, there's been a really cool conversation going on in our Discord server in their channel, where people are sharing some of the music that they really liked in video games as well, stuff that really resonated with them. So, again, you can check out, you can also be a part of that conversation on Discord. You don't even have to be like a special, like, you know, superstar diamond member of the Certain Point of View community. You can just join Discord.
We let anybody in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're podcasting, so I mean, we're not going to hold the standard too high. It's just not fair at that point.
No.
Like, how did we get in?
Yeah, and it's our server,
right?
Even when you look at each other and go, "Are we supposed to be here?" Because there's some really smart people on that server.
Right? But yeah, you can check out all of those other podcasts, and you can check out Discord, all of that on our website, certainpov.com. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with this interview. I do want to let you guys know, though, we did have some audio issues, so if there's some, you can understand everything Brandon has to say, like, ultimately with his message with context on sometimes, but there were some audio dropouts, unfortunately, in this particular episode. We did our best to recover a good amount of it, and we did, but there's still some weird stuff. It isn't Brandon. Flawless. Yeah, it isn't Brandon. It is unfortunately our mistake in our engineering on our side of it. But it was still, fortunately, you still get to enjoy a fascinating discussion. Like, I went back while I was listening to this and preparing this episode. There's a bunch of stuff that I went back and re-listened to bits of it because I kept on getting into the discussion again.
This is a good one.
Yeah. So Brandon is fascinating. Again, you can check out their podcast, their analysis, their community, all of that at ClashingSabers.net. And we'll go ahead and get started with the episode. So today we've got another guest. We've got our friends from the Clashing Sabers podcast network, and in fact, they've got multiple Star Wars podcasts. And while, you know, we dabble in Star Wars, it's nice to hang out with nerds who are a little bit more committed to Star Wars than we are.
Oh my God, I listened to a couple episodes and I felt so amateur.
Right?
I was like, have I even seen this movie?
Yeah. I think I've seen the movies, but yeah. Anyway, it's Brandon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here, and it's weird for me to be like the smart guy on the podcast. Usually that's Drew's role. I'm like, I'm more of the like, hey, I like fluffy things, and look at porgs are cute. It's more my role. Everybody else is far more intelligent than me. I just surround myself with good people. That tricks everybody.
Excellent strategy. Tell us a little bit about the podcast, and because you have different shows on the feed. Tell us about each one a little bit.
Yeah, so Clashing Sabers started, just a quick background, as basically, I was listening to a lot of podcasts and found myself talking to them and figured, well, why don't I just do this myself? And so I have a background in writing. So I started the site as just articles and stuff, and then eventually moved into podcasts. So if you go to clashingsabers.net, we have a lot of articles on there. But the podcasts, we have 4 shows on the feed. We have the main show, which is just kind of Star Wars discussion. We don't really do a lot of news. We're more in-depth analysis of the films, the shows. The episode that we have coming out next is one about the main protagonists of each trilogy. So we kind of look at the in-depth side of things. And then we have 3 other shows. We have the Starships, which we just got a new host, Adriana, who is doing an amazing job. And that's for all you shippers. We have Don't Burn the Sacred Text, which is our canon book review podcast. And then we have what I would argue is the best show on the internet right now, which is Forever Star Wars. And I say that saying that I have nothing to do with it except for uploading the files. And hours and hours. And oh my goodness, guys. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to Forever Star Wars, but if you subscribe to our network just to listen to them, it's worth it. The most recent episode was a venture into planets in kind of an audiobook format. He's gone through some music. He's gone through history of the films and things like that. It's amazing. It's a fun ride.
That sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to checking out more of the shows. I've listened to a couple of them so far. I haven't gotten through all of them, but I'm loving what I'm hearing so far. It's been great. Congratulations on.
Thank you.
It's hard work to pull off a decent podcast, and much less a good one.
Right.
Like it takes a lot of work, and our hats go off to you as one of the groups out there that's doing good stuff.
I appreciate that. Mostly it's I tripped and fell and ended up with a lot of good people around me, and so.
Well,
it's a labor and love, but I appreciate the compliment there.
Thank you. Well, what got you into Star Wars? How did you get introduced to Star Wars?
Oh man, so like my main answer is I don't remember a time before Star Wars.
Okay.
I have a few vivid memories of early childhood with Star Wars, but I'm not sure which one is first. There's of course the action figures, which I think is everybody's entry point to some extent. And then I remember, this is going to show my age, Circuit City in the mall, when they still had Circuit City and people still went to malls, the THX release. The One Last Time release that came out before the special editions I had on VHS, and I wore those things out. I may or may not have faked sick just to stay home and watch Return of the Jedi on repeat. I withhold comment on that. But yeah, so I mean, it was kind of a lifelong love affair. I fell off for a good like 10, 12 years and went through some personal issues and things like that. And I tell everybody, but I had an eating disorder and I was in a treatment center. And so I was looking for like ways to change myself and trying to get back to like who I thought I should be, and stumbled on some Star Wars fan art on Pinterest. And you know how the internet works, you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I just saw all this there and I was like, wait, there's other people that like this, there's other people, and I was 10 years too late, but I realized, hey, there's an internet out here and people talk about Star Wars. And from that it just snowballed.
Oh, awesome.
So that's interesting. So would you say that like latching back onto Star Wars kind of like was sort of an effort to sort of rebuild in a way?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I kind of say Star Wars saved my life because it really did get me back to who I was as a core person. And the thing I realized about myself is I'm going to be obsessed about something.
Right.
If I'm going to be obsessed about something, I might as well make it something fun and productive. Like, I don't go out and drink. I don't party. That's just not my scene. No judgment if that's what you're into. But me, I like to stay home and watch Clone Wars while I eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm pretty simple.
That for me, that's the dream right there. So I'm I'm with you there.
Because I remember growing up, I was really into the Young Jedi Knight series with Jason and Jaina and their training. And it always made me so mad because I don't know if you guys had this in school. We had a program or have a program called AR. Is that?
No,
it doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, so basically what it is you read books and you take a quiz on it and you get a certain number of points based on how you do on the quiz and blah, blah. I've always been an avid reader. Like, get a new book at my birthday party and buy everybody, I'm going to read. So reading was never an issue for me, but my mom was very much about like, you got to meet your AR goal. So I was never allowed to read my Star Wars books because they weren't at the level I was reading at, according to, their thing, until I made my AR goal. So I read so many books just so I could sneak a book in a week to read my Young Jedi Knight books. And I'm a reading teacher now, so I don't know. Good thing, bad thing.
Yeah, totally.
But it's fun. It's fun to go back and look at those things in the past and really see like what it is that connected you with the story in the first place.
One of the things that I love about Star Wars is the mythology of it and like the universalness of it. What are some of what's like one of your favorite things about Star Wars that keeps you coming back to it? Ahsoka. Okay.
We're in the same camp.
Yeah. So going back to what I was talking about before, with my recovery and everything, one of the issues I had was kind of finding my place in my family. And it's just it's a whole bunch of drama, there, but basically I was living with a friend of mine and I was chilling and he was out and I was watching Clone Wars and I got to that season 5 finale and seeing Ahsoka walk away was the most powerful things I've ever seen in media, in visual media, and her creating her own path. And the fact we didn't know the resolution to that and it didn't matter. She went to go make her own path and the results be what they may was really, really powerful to me and is actually part of why I went on to become a teacher. See her come back in Rebels and the fact that her decision paid off and it was the right thing. And I have a theory about Ahsoka and why she was hidden during the original trilogy, but the sacrifice and the dedication she had to living her life the way she saw fit was really inspiring to me.
Yeah. All right. I got to know what's your theory. You can't just be
know,
like, oh, I have an idea and just throw that out there.
I mean, we're Ahsoka fans too, so yeah. So I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
So Twilight of the Apprentice, she walks down those steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she comes back at the end of Rebels.
Right.
She comes back dressed completely in white, right? Very Gandalf the White, Lord of the Rings type thing. Like it's a very direct analogy there, right?
For sure.
So I have a theory that basically Ahsoka is the light in the dark for Anakin. Because Anakin's whole objective was to snuff out everything that connected him with his past.
Okay.
With Obi-Wan, he did it with Padme. Like everything he did was to get rid of Anakin Skywalker. But when you look at Ahsoka, and this goes kind of to the mythology and the symbolism, she is the one that cracks his armor, and figuratively. So I kind of think of it like an Olympic torch. And Anakin was carrying the torch for a while, and then dropped it. Kind of picked it up for a little bit, right? There's still Jedi out there. There's still hope. You have some rogue Jedi. But really, Ahsoka, by staying on Malachor, kept that flame alive, metaphorically, for Anakin, that there was still good inside of him that eventually, of course, Luke would set ablaze. So I think Ahsoka staying on Malachor and knowing everything that was going on out there is thing, even though she's not a Jedi, because it's that self-sacrifice where she knows she has to do what she has to do and trust that the Force will take care of everything else.
So very much kind of like Gandalf in the way that he moves and operates to sometimes maybe push people in the right direction, but to sort of like move elements in the way that they should across sort of this bigger cosmic scene.
Yeah, basically. And again, I'm big into, and this is part of Clashing Sabers, I'm big into the mythology and the symbolism and looking at the light and masks and things like that, all those nerdy things that we all like to talk about.
Yeah.
But but yeah, she kind of, again, part of her path is she's going to do what she knows is right and trust the Force to take care of everything else. And so if you look, the last thing we see her say to Anakin is, "I won't leave you."
Right.
That's things that Luke says to Anakin.
Oh, I never thought of that.
I never really.
How did I miss that?
This from a meme I saw on Facebook the other day. So I'm not super bright there, but yeah, it's that circle, right? The circle is now complete. It's here
poetry.
I go. Ready? It's poetry. It rhymes. Didn't see that coming. It's a Star Wars podcast if you don't say that.
Right. I love how that was always such. For the longest time, especially because of Red Letter Media, that had been such a joke, but now we've kind of come and owned it in a weird way.
Yeah. Enough time has passed that
It's
we're
like
kind
the
of able to
Stand
laugh
thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the prequel. I'm really warming up to the prequels in the last year or two. I really enjoy making fun of them, and I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, and appreciating aspects of it for sure. And I never thought I'd be as excited for the 20th anniversary of Phantom Menace as I am right now. We're recording before Celebration. This is coming out after Celebration, but I'm pretty psyched for it. So it's sort of it's not something I ever would have thought that I
always thought I'd have to wear a bag over my head this day.
Right.
This is a day that will long live in infamy.
I am a full-on prequels kid.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was born in late May. So those literally came out like the week after my birthday, every time they came out. So that was my, birthday party. Again, I'm very simple. I want to just read my book and be left alone.
Right.
So I get to take like one or two friends to go see the new Star Wars movie. And ironically enough, the only thing I remember about that is Attack of the Clones. Yeah. And the I guess the asteroid field right outside Geonosis where it goes silent and then you just get the reverberation.
Yeah,
just amazing work by Ben Burt.
That was such a cool scene.
So I'm a full-on prequel lover, but my co-host Drew, one of my co-hosts on the main show, he's not very prequel supportive.
Yeah.
Points of view.
We've warmed up to it over time.
Yeah.
I was full-on prequel hater for a long time. And I mean, you know what's funny is I enjoyed the first experience of watching each of those movies in the theater. But on rewatches, it didn't quite work for me. But I feel the Clone Wars have done so much to fill in,
fix a
lot of gaps.
Yeah. Well, and part of my fandom, part of how I enjoy Star Wars is explaining the things that don't seem to make sense.
Yeah.
And coming up with these theories for them, like, for instance, why the heck doesn't Ahsoka show up and just team up with Luke and whoop up on Palpatine and Vader? Right. So I see the flaws that are in the prequels without a doubt, but part of the fun that I have is like, but maybe why is this not a flaw?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
For sure.
A little headcanon fixing.
And
exactly.
And I will say, I think a part of that is also inflating for as someone who didn't like the prequels for a while. I think it was also inflating the originals to higher lengths than maybe I should have.
Yeah, like I go back and I watch the originals now and I'm like, oh my God, like no wonder I liked these when I was 12. I didn't know better.
And there's still so much to love about them for sure.
But they're not perfect.
Right.
They're not perfect.
No.
And the funny thing about Star Wars fandom and its memory just overall is we tend to forget how much was not liked when it first came out. Yeah, people walked out of that theater and were like, what did we just watch? Because it went against everything that a sequel should until Return of the Jedi, when you get those resolutions where you look back and you go, oh my God, Empire Strikes Back was genius.
Right. And now it's the sequel that everything is judged by.
Exactly. And so I think that, and I'm not the first person to say this, I won't be the last, but I think as the prequel generation grows up, people like me who are huge prequel supporters are standing up and finally having a voice, basically being adults and having access to things more than anything else. We're able to go like, hey, like, I actually really like this thing. And oh, you like this? Hey, I like this too. And so I'm really excited to see the reaction that it gets on that 20th anniversary panel on Monday.
Are you going to Chicago?
I am not this year. So I'm really mad at myself because I'm a 5th grade teacher and we have our state testing this week. And I thought that Celebration was before I would not be able to take off. Celebration is on Friday. I could totally have missed the whole weekend. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the first time financially that I could afford to go, and I messed up like this, and I'm like, man, because everybody's going to be there. So next time. So what about you guys? Are you going?
No, sadly, no. I'm hoping the next time around I'll be able to go.
You said that last time. We're never going to go. That's the reality of it. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'm going to go, but I'm going to be smart about it. Lindsay, one of my other co-hosts, and she does Don't Burn the Sacred Text with me. She's real smart about it. She gets the VIP pass. So see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have her buy me a VIP pass and send her the money, because you should see, you think I'm obsessed with Star Wars. You think you're obsessed with Star Wars. This girl gets her entire office to shut down to buy her tickets.
Oh my God. I like her.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She saw Last Jedi, I think 17 times in the first weekend, and you think I'm exaggerating? I'm not.
That's incredible.
Got to be single. My wife would kill me.
Right?
Yeah. I saw it 3 times, and I thought I was hardcore.
Oh, my God.
Fandango denied her credit card because she was trying to buy on 5 different computers at the same time, and they thought it was fraud.
So how do you?
But she was buying for like 5 different theaters.
Right.
How do you get these VIP tickets to Celebration?
Basically, you have to buy in like the first 3.5 seconds, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
First serve, there's like a limited number.
Okay.
I don't know how. She has some kind of...
She gets in quick.
I don't even want to know.
No, better. We don't talk about it.
That's questions you don't want the answer to.
That's awesome. That's the way to go, though. Like, if you could get that, I would be all about that. I don't want.
You don't have to worry.
I mean, sit with the unwashed masses. Like, it's just not.
Well, I think though I would want to be there for the community of it too. But yes, VIP passes sound great. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I'm there for the community, but also I want to make sure I have a seat at a panel.
Exactly. Want that preferred seating,
right?
As I've grown older, I've realized that I spend my money on convenience. I don't really care about stuff. I care about convenience.
And experience.
Yeah, it's all about time. As you get less and less
stress away.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Makes all sense.
So, we talked just sort of briefly over, Empire and sequels and Last Jedi. So where do you sort of fall in the Last Jedi discussion right now?
Adore that movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were among friends.
God, it's so good.
Right? I still continue to find more and more every time I rewatch that movie.
Here's the thing. I am very attached to my first experience with something. Mm-hmm. I don't watch the trailers. I'm not even going to watch any of the stuff for episode 9. I would watch the initial teaser, but then didn't watch the full trailer. So I had no idea about any of it. I didn't know about the Force connection. I had no idea about Leia or Crate or anything. So the ups and downs and the emotional roller coaster that movie took me on will forever... I don't know if it'll stay one of my favorite Star Wars movies, with the whole ranking thing. At some point things fall and other things come.
Right.
But live in my heart as a wonderful movie. And literally the first thing the whole Clashing Sabers group texted each other when we got done watching the movie was, we're never going to be able to stop talking about this movie. There's so many articles that are coming out of this movie.
Yeah. It's a rich mine to dig into. it's become my favorite Star Wars movie ahead of Empire.
Yeah, it resonates with me for a lot of things. You mentioned you love talking mythology. Like, we love getting into sort of, the spiritual aspects of Star Wars and the Force and sort of, Lucas's commentary on religion and faith a lot. So this movie really resonated with us a lot on that front, with sort of, re-examining the nature of the Force and sort of tearing down the perceptions of it and then sort of rebuilding and renewing sort of the core of it in a very interesting way. I always feel like one of the things that always stands out to me with Last Jedi is I feel sometimes people get a little too obsessed. Both fans of the movie and people who don't like it are so obsessed with the idea of destroying the past. And I think they forget that it's the villain who says that it's not just about, like, destroying the past is a part of it, but it's also about reaffirming the things of value. Yeah, the things that are of value from that there is a value in the legend of Luke Skywalker. It isn't just a meaningless, story, but that there were failures and we have to acknowledge them and move on and rebuild from there. So I think some people forget that there's that really core message of hope in that movie. So I'm excited to see how it, that story continues in Episode 9.
Absolutely. And I see the prequels are about the death, right? The original trilogy is the rebirth, and then the sequels are about your legacy.
Right.
And so at some point we all deal with, like, what is our legacy going to be? Are we going to be remembered for those things where we made our mistakes, or are we going to be remembered for where we lifted others up? And if we're honest with ourselves, where do most of us think our legacy is going to be? Oh, I screwed up that one time, oh man. And, I didn't handle my finances exactly perfect. And so my kids are maybe going to have to work through college, or I got a divorce, but it got me out of a very unhealthy marriage. We look at these things and we focus on the bad. And what Last Jedi is telling us to do is use those as learning experiences to be the example for your children, for the next generation, for whoever it is that's looking up to you. Because even if it's somebody you never see, there's always somebody looking up to you, which is exactly what that final scene, which I wasn't a huge fan of at first, the classic, Star Wars ending. But when I rewatched it and really thought about it in context of the film, I think it's really saying, like, that these stories continue beyond us. We continue beyond the physical self, which is a very, of course, Star Wars thing.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, Jedi is a very metacognitive movie. It's like it's a movie commenting on a bunch of movies while also commenting on itself, while also commenting on society, while also being a really great film.
It does have a lot going on, a lot going forward. I'm always disappointed when people just kind of miss the whole point of that movie, and because of previous expectations of what they thought they were going to get.
I mean, yes, it makes me sad. I get why some people didn't like Last Jedi. Yeah. I've had some great conversations with people who we just ended like, all right, cool, man. Like, I disagree with you. You disagree with me. Like, we're coming at it from different points of view, but I appreciate the conversation. So, like, I hope we can kind of move towards as this ages. And again, really loved until it had the context of Return of the Jedi. And I think we're going to have the same situation with Last Jedi.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that it's going to go down as and be remembered as one of the top Star Wars films of.
Yes. So I got a question for you guys then.
Okay. Sure.
Or no Bendemption?
I'm gonna, as far redeeming Kylo, I'm gonna say I could go either way, honestly, and I wouldn't be disappointed. I'm just for the same reason that you don't like watch trailers and stuff like that. I'm kind of like not really trying to even think about what the plot will be. But if I had to guess, I think Redemption.
I kind of actually go the other way on this one.
It's because you wanted Batman to die, Addy.
This is totally different. Totally different. But yes, you're right.
Are we talking Dark Knight Batman or Justice League Batman?
Yeah, Dark Knight.
Justice League Batman, I wanted to die too.
That too. But Dark Knight Rises, I felt just didn't feel right with Bruce Wayne surviving that movie. But that's a whole other thing. I do ultimately feel like I'm okay with it going either way, but right now my sense is Kylo Ren is too far gone in that he is so obsessed with tearing down things that to me he almost seems like someone who is so obsessed with tearing down the things that were wrong and right. And that he's sort of more of this, I guess, a very nihilistic villain. To me, I'd like to see. I don't know. Well, I don't know if there's so many possibilities. Episode 9 is so hard for me to really think about because, like, I had expectations going into Last Jedi, and it was so Last Jedi was so effective that I really don't know. Like, I don't even have a beginning point to know what to predict about Episode 9. To be perfectly honest, because I think they did such a good job with the moments with him and Rey, in that last fight, and when they split, and the moments with him and Luke's force projection, and. Yes, Luke said he's too far gone and he can't save.
But Obi-Wan said that about Anakin too.
Right, and that's always been a key thing with my perception on the original trilogy. The only reason I kind of think that he may not have a redemption arc is maybe this is sort of the sins of the father type of thing with Anakin's mistakes that does have a consequence for the Skywalker family. That's the only way I can rationalize it is like that sort of thematic idea. But I'd be like, as long as it feels right and earned, whatever happens, I'm on board for him being redeemed too.
One of the key reasons I think he is going to be redeemed is actually what you were talking about, because what Luke actually says there is, I can't save him.
Right.
Says, I know my son is gone, and then Luke replies, no one's ever really gone, right? So is he talking about Han in that moment? Is he talking about Kylo in that? Again, Last Jedi has so many angles you can go at. And what's interesting about right now, and we should really cherish this time in our fandom, is where anything is going. Right? We haven't known that. I've never known that because I'm a prequels kid. But if we look at just like Star Wars storytelling, the last time we knew that didn't know anything was Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Even Clone Wars, we kind of knew where it was headed. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen with Ahsoka, but we kind of had an idea like things weren't going to end well for everybody, right?
Right.
And now,
same with Rebels. Yeah.
Even get me started. We can come back to that.
Yeah.
I love Rebels so much.
Yeah.
Right? Of like 10 different ways redemption makes sense, 10 different ways that killing him makes sense, and I know that none of them are even close to what J.J. Abrams is going to come up with,
right?
Because he's getting paid $600 million, and I'm talking on a free podcast. Yeah. So,
we do have an active Patreon community.
Oh, okay.
But not that active.
Not active enough. No, I completely agree. It is a really exciting time. I'm going to add one last reason why I think he will be redeemed, and that's because there's a lot of money in the name Skywalker, and if he dies, the line
that's
dies.
the end of the Skywalkers.
Yeah, that's the last Skywalker.
Yeah,
and that's not good for Disney.
I don't know.
But here's the thing. There's so much other space in there to tell stories.
Oh, absolutely. There absolutely is. But
here's the thing, though, because I would have agreed with you before Last Jedi. Because, here's the thing. It was like when everybody was talking about their Snoke predictions and their, like, who's Rey's parents, like, my hope was pretty much almost like pretty close to exactly what we got. I did have a prediction of who Snoke was, but I ultimately didn't care too much. But I definitely wanted Rey's parents to not be anyone special,
right?
Not someone we've ever seen before,
right?
So, and I honestly thought she was going to be a Skywalker. Like, there was no way they were like, oh, Disney's not going to, like, they're not going to be, Lucasfilm and Disney's just not going to be bold enough to make that statement. And the fact is, they backed that. They liked it. They were happy with Rian Johnson doing that.
Yeah.
So,
because you still had a Skywalker.
Well, yeah.
Because you still had a Skywalker. If you get rid of that last
Skywalker, yeah.
You don't have that anymore.
Maybe. I don't know.
There's value in that name.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
There definitely is, but also Rogue One made like $1.5 billion. So, it's kind of like... I said it's the end of the Skywalker story at the end of episode 6. So saying it here, it kind of feels like there's an asterisk at the end no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Because Return of the Jedi was the perfect ending.
Right.
Yeah,
because
these are really good stories.
If things ever go south financially on any of these movies bad enough, I bet you'll hear another Skywalker.
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
True. That's true.
I mean, the thing is, they've already made their $4 billion back plus interest. So at this point, they're just playing with house money. We'll see. I think they are going to spend a lot of time. Walker Saga. I think if we do get anything, it'll be another situation where it's 20, 30 years down the road where like the kids who are 10 and 11, like I'm teaching, are now, buying tickets to go to the theater like I am to go see it 7, 8, 9 times.
Yeah.
But I think there's just so much other stuff going on and so many other avenues to tell stories. And I think one of the things Lucasfilm's doing really well right now is saying like there are these stories outside the Skywalker saga. Rogue One did a great job. Solo, I don't know about you guys, Solo was a big surprise for me and how much I liked that movie.
I was not expecting to enjoy it that much, but and I love Rogue One, so I'm with you there. And I mean, right now, like you would have also thought that they would, because that with the way they approached Force Awakens, there was a lot of like reaffirmation of the look and tone and feel of the original trilogy, but now they're willing to jump back into the prequel trilogy. They've been willing to listen to bring back Clone Wars. I mean, we're getting a Count Dooku backstory.
Yes, I know.
Finally.
And Disney never listens to the fans. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Do you see what we're getting? You're getting your cool Mandalorian costume. You're getting a whole dark series about it. You're getting all this prequel content. Oh, you like original trilogy? Here you go. I mean, come on now.
Yeah. We're getting so much. So I mean, there's the Old Republic crew will get their stories, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. There's so much material out there. I'm excited. I'm ultimately most excited for Rian Johnson's new trilogy. But I know that's quite a ways away, so we'll see what happens when we start hearing more information about that. But
that's the only thing that going into Celebration, because again, we're just a couple days out from Celebration when we're recording this. But I'm shocked that there's no filmmakers panel this year.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, because obviously there's going to be the episode 9 announcement, news and announcements. I do wonder.
That's the only thing that they have.
Yeah, they haven't said anything about a movie in 2020 yet. So
or 21. Yeah, there's no other films that they're talking about at this celebration.
I don't think we'll get another film until 22 or 23. I think they're really going to put everything behind Disney Plus. Yeah. And I think this celebration one is mostly focused on episode 9, obviously, but also just getting everybody primed for the non-movie stuff. And I think if you had a filmmakers panel, you have to put that at a big stage, and then you can't, put the Mandalorian on a big stage, right. Or
it undermines all of that.
Whatever else.
That's true. Sure. You don't think Benioff and Weiss's movies come out earlier than 20 2022 necessarily?
I mean, as far as I know, they're not even written yet.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they even
have
have
a cast or story or anything. They have an idea.
No, I don't even know if they have a treatment. I mean, I think basically, as far as I know, and again, like I'm not super big into the news. I kind of like keep up with it as people talk about it on podcasts, but they're signed. I don't know if they actually gave a story treatment to get that signature, to get that contract. So as far as I know, the only thing we know about Benioff and Weiss is they are doing a quote unquote series of movies.
Right. And it's, at this point, we're still in a vague point in pre-production.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the big issues that the sequel trilogy has had is once we got past Force Awakens, it didn't feel as special. Like even walking into The Last Jedi, I was like, this is also the third Star Wars movie in 3 years. Like I just feel greedy, you know? And so I don't think taking a break is necessarily going to be a bad thing.
True. Yeah, I mean, we're getting plenty of other Star Wars content, so it's not like we're at a loss.
Right.
Not famished, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm super psyched for this Mandalorian show. It looks incredible.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, I agree.
I haven't heard anybody. Yeah, everybody's just like, "Yep, I'm ready for it. Let's just get it on. Let's just do it."
So, coming back around to Ahsoka though, where do you think we next see Ahsoka and Sabine and the sort of the search for Ezra and Thrawn?
Of like not like wanting to speculate about stuff, selfishly, greedily, because I adore Rebels, and I withhold my right to change this. Like I don't know, 3 seconds from now, it might be my favorite Star Wars anything.
Yeah.
The Rebels return like Clone Wars did, but I don't think Dave would want to do that. It's probably, if we're being realistic, it's going to play out in a comic or in a series of novels. If I had my hope, continuation, a spin-off, if you will, on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. Ahsoka Sabine, cruising the galaxy, looking for Ezra and Thrawn, the greatest buddy cop movie ever.
Yeah.
All you have to do is say Ahsoka and Sabine, and you've got me sold.
Right. Yeah, I part of me think, because my theory is that it'll be its own series after Resistance or running alongside Resistance. But now with the Colossus out in space, I don't think it's unlikely that we could run into to these characters.
Here's what I'm predicting, and it just came to me. I think that with the Colossus being thrown in past the Outer Rim, they're gonna run and have some adventures out there, and I think what they're going to do is going to lead to a series of events that leads Ahsoka to Ezra and Thrawn.
Huh.
It's very plausible.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense. The thing for me is thinking about Dave Filoni, because like with Ahsoka, unless Dave approves of it, right?
Right.
And Dave is a storyteller, and he appreciates not just what they give us, but what they allow us to, the ideas that they allow us to explore, the extrapolation that we get to have, right? That original trilogy kids got to have. He grew up original trilogy era where we don't know what else happened before. We don't know what else happened after. We don't know what happened in these 3 years in between, right?
Right.
And so I could absolutely see, and I honestly, in like a tortured heart kind of way, would totally like it if they never tell us that story. 80-year-old me's got my grandkids on my lap going like, hey guys, Ahsoka's out there, she's coming back one day.
I would. No, I'm not okay with it. I actually want to know this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I like tragedy. So I say this on the podcast a lot. That's part of the reason I like Star Wars. And I like a book when it comes to a nice conclusion. And I'm like, all right, that was great. I can put it away now. I know what happened. Yeah. But I also really love the torture of like them leaving you on a cliffhanger and going like, oh no, sorry, that's the end. That's all we were going to write. Have fun.
That's all there is, folks. Time to go home.
I mean, I will say if that was the end of Ezra, I am actually ultimately okay with it because it was such a fantastic arc. From beginning to end. It just unfortunately getting that little bit of a tease of Ahsoka the Grey and Sabine out on adventures, though. I gotta get some of those adventures, even if they never cross paths with Ezra ever again.
Oh, have no doubt in your mind. If it comes about and it happens, I will be sitting there with a giant cake in my hand, just eating it, just the happiest kid in the world on Saturday morning. Like, forget a bowl of cereal. This is sweet.
Yeah. I suspect that we'll get some Ahsoka and Sabine in Resistance at some point. Maybe not this season, maybe next season. But I also imagine that Filoni will tease us all weekend long.
Endlessly.
Oh, yeah.
And just troll every human being who's a Star Wars fan all the entire time about whether or not we're going to see A, Ahsoka, and B, wolves.
What's the over-under on Dave just going and buying out all the plush Loth wolves that they have at the Celebration store? Those odds.
Pretty good.
You know, I just came to this, and I want to run this by you guys. So we don't know where it's going. Niku doesn't know where it's going. It's just some random set of coordinates, right? Instead of like actually joining up with the Resistance proper that we see in the movies, what if the Resistance is now battling the Chiss Ascendancy? And that's how we get Ezra and Thrawn pulled back in.
That was one of my thoughts, actually. I was thinking, because, you know, I still have to, so I've read the Thrawn comic. I've been going through the audiobook for the first Thrawn book. I still need to check out the second one. But just seeing it as how there's this, like, threat in the unknown regions, and the Chiss Ascendancy obviously are, you know, connected to it in some way. It does, like, it feels like the First Order may have some connection with something out in the unknown regions, potentially, or may lead to something there. So,
because isn't that where Snoke is from, right?
Right. He, you know, yeah, and apparently he's been watching things from afar, you know, for hundreds of years, or however many years it was. I do get the sense that our continued adventures with Resistance will be fighting the Resistance on another front. And it does seem like something like the Chiss Ascendancy is a very good possibility, or just brand new species or races or threats that we've never ever seen or imagined in Star Wars before too. And again, like, those unknown possibilities is right now one of the most exciting things in Star Wars to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
The last thing I want to talk to you about before we go, I want to be respectful of your time. Heading into Celebration, do you think? Well, I saw Hayden Christensen's going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think he's going to take part in this next film?
Oh God, I hope so.
Yeah.
God, I hope so.
I do too.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my biggest crackpot, not going to happen. I'll probably end up writing a fan fiction about it or something later on down the road theory. You guys familiar with Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the end of Deathly Hallows, when he's in the forest with Voldemort, he gets surrounded by the ghosts of all the people who have died to protect him, right?
Yeah.
Rey gets surrounded by all the Force ghosts. And of course, Hayden Christensen being among them. And they give her the strength to do whatever it is she needs to do. I think that dies, and she revives him very much like the daughter does to Ahsoka on Mortis. But again, nothing to go off on that. I'm just have way too much time on my hands. So the ghosts surround her, and then she takes up the Skywalker name as like a mantle of the greatest of the Jedi. And she kind of gets anointed somehow. Force ghosts who give her whatever she needs to act that must be done with Ben Solo is.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. Yes, I want Hayden. I want Hayden in there.
Yeah, I want Hayden in there too. Yes, I want him in the movie too.
I'm in for that. Especially with the idea, your Force Ghost idea.
And JJ has said, like, this is going to tie everything together. He said the prequel is the original, right? And I think we go to that because it's the most obvious thing. And again, he's getting paid like $600 million and we're not. So, like, but I don't want the link to the prequels to be, as much as I loved it, I don't want it to be just like a Darth Sidious reference. Right. Like, oh yes, we've overcome what Darth Sidious started, and that's it. I don't know. I need that ribbon on it, which is ironic because I just said I like when they leave things open ended. Yeah. But if you're gonna say, like, if you're gonna put it out there, especially if you're J.J. Abrams and you're gonna put it out there that you're tying everything together, make it clear.
Yeah. Well, and Abrams was a guy who talked up the whole Sins of the Father and Vader's legacy, and like he talked up a lot of that too going into Force Awakens. So it would make sense if we got a Hayden Christensen appearance.
Yep. So cool. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell us again where everybody can find you and about your podcasts.
Yeah, you can go over to ClashingSabers.net. That'll have a link. If you click on the menu bar, that'll have a link to all the podcasts and everything there. And of course, you can see our writing if you kind of like the crazy theories and in-depth analysis of the films and the Clone Wars and everything else. You'll definitely dig that. Twitter at Clashing Sabers, YouTube Clashing Sabers. We're at Clashing Sabers or the Clashing Sabers Podcast Network on all your major podcast providers. So come hang out. We also have a Facebook group, Star Wars Community, which is so much fun. We have a bunch of great people in there, and it's really just like what tonight was, just a great time to just talk and have conversation with other Star Wars fans. And we really pride ourselves on being a place where, and this is where we always say we put the clashing and Clashing Sabers, where different points of view can come together and discuss and shake hands and like each other at the end of the day, which is a novel idea.
Absolutely. We, in fact, especially today. So we'll, of course, have links to ClashingSabers.net in the episode description and on our website, certainpov.com. You can find all of our other podcasts that are part of the Certain Point of View family on our website, certainpov.com. And don't forget to check out our Discord server where we're chatting it up and having conversations with all of our all of our variety of podcasts. Again, you can check that out, certainpov.com. And until next time, stay scruffy, my Nerf herders.